time for Roll for Combat.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Roll for Combat podcast. I'm your GM and host Stephen Glicker, and I thought we'd do a very quick welcome episode to explain to you what this is all about, where we're going to be playing through the Pathfinder 2nd Edition adventure, The Fall of Plaguestone, written by Jason Bowman. In this adventure, all of our characters begin at level 1, and then by the end of the adventure should be level 4. In addition to this podcast, we also host our Dead Sons Adventure Path podcast, which has been going on for about 2 years now, and we expect to finish it up sometime at the beginning of 2020. For those of you interested in our Dead Sons Adventure podcast, do check out our episode 0 of that podcast, which gives you a good intro of what that podcast is all about. Now, for those of you familiar with our Dead Sons Adventure podcast, I'm going to tell you right now that this podcast is very different than that podcast. Our Dead Sons Adventure podcast is a group of friends who have known each other for about 25 years or so, who have been playing together on a weekly basis. That podcast is probably very similar to your games at home, where you're kind of sitting around, playing the game, joking around, making geek references, talking about movies, and so forth. We don't really do voices in that podcast, and we're actually very heavy into the gaming mechanics. Again, it's a different type of podcast. That type of podcast is really just sitting around with a group of friends, listening to them play Starfinder. This podcast is going to be 180 degrees different. The Fall of Plaguestone podcast pretty much is 100% role-playing. Everyone does voices, everyone stays in character, and talking about the real world is minimal at best. I feel that both podcasts have something to offer everyone. They just have very different feels to them. One of them is a couple of guys sitting around playing Starfinder and having a good time and just joking with each other. The other one is a very serious actual play podcast, and that is the one I'm going to be talking about today. As for who's on the show, I thought it would be best if they introduced themselves. But before we get into that, I'll just tell you about myself real quick. Once again, my name is Stephen Glicker, and I've been playing role-playing games for over 42 years now. I do play as a player from time to time, but I primarily GM, as that is what I really enjoy. Most of my life, I've been playing Dungeons & Dragons, but over the last 10 years or so, I've pretty much concentrated on only playing Pathfinder. I've GM'd most of the classic modules from the Pathfinder 1st Edition days, well, pretty much all of them, and more recently have really got into adventure paths, and GM'd adventure paths such as Age of Worms, Iron Gods, Kingmaker, and now most recently, Dead Sons in the Starfinder universe. This time around, we decided to do a smaller adventure that should probably take only about 6 months or so from beginning to end. In this case, The Fall of Plaguestone. In addition, I've also developed professionally, both for Goodman Games as well as Paizo. I've written for the Starfinder Adventure Path line, and most recently, I've actually developed for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. You'll find my work in the upcoming Extinction Curse Adventure Path coming out in 2020. With that, let's introduce the other members of this podcast.
Jason Mcdonald is playing Brixley Silverthorn, the Gnome Champion Liberator.
I'm Jason McDonald, and you will probably recognize me as the same Jason McDonald who plays Tuttle Blacktail on the Starfinder Dead Sons podcast that we do. Like Steve, I am a longtime gamer back to my childhood, playing AD&D, Top Secret, even the random game of Boot Hill here and there. Been playing with Steve and his group, for about 6 or 7 years, I guess, that we've been doing this. Though, of course, obviously, we've only been doing the show for 2 years. So that's me.
Vanessa Hoskins is playing Celeste Carvassalon, the human angelic sorcerer.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Hoskins. I've been playing D20 games since college and plenty of Final Fantasy and other computerized role-playing games before that. And I am a freelancer for Paizo for both their Starfinder and Pathfinder line, as well as third-party publishers that support those games. And I've written adventures for both the Pathfinder and Starfinder organized play systems. Finally, I am a No Direction member and blogger, and I write a blog all about how to make your own adventures.
Rob Tremarco is playing Cade Thistlerot, the halfling rogue thief.
Hello, Rob Tremarco here. I've been a guest
on a few episodes here of Roll for Combat. And like the ancients of Steve and Jason, I too have been playing role-playing games since the early days, from D&D to Champions to everything else under the sun, including all the new stuff that's out these days. And I'm excited for Pathfinder 2E.
Lauren Sieg is playing Prue Frosthammer, the half-orc spirit barbarian.
Yes, I am Lauren. Myself and Vanessa were invited here, thanks to Steve, which we are very happy to be on the show, from No Direction. I play in Adventurous, where you can listen to my character, Lily, who is not a murderer who poisons people with baked goods. Don't try and say she is. I also play Sam Hamich, the outlaw for hire in our Stellar podcast. And I write the Dear Dova Queen advice column. I'm pretty sure I'm either the only Pathfinder advice column in a Dear Abby style. And finally, I just started our new show, Bend the Knee. I've been doing the advice column for 4 years, where people ask me questions, and bend the knee, the tables are turned. I'm asking the questions, and I get 3 illustrious guests to give me a fun response to something like, which magic item would you want in real life?
So look for all of us on this podcast. One other thing I wanted to mention is that unlike our Dead Sons Adventure Path podcast, where I have lengthy intros and outros, those will be at a bare minimum for this podcast. So if you want to know what's going on in the Roll for Combat world, or want to find out what's going on with our latest contest, check out our Dead Sons Adventure Path podcast and listen to those intros and outros. I'll understand if you want to skip the podcast and just listen to those. That's fine with me. As for the schedule for this podcast, expect it to be coming out every single Tuesday, with the Dead Sons Adventure Path podcast moving to Fridays. I would advise that you subscribe to the podcast. Not only are we going to be hosting the Fall of Plaguestone on this channel, as well as the existing Dead Sons Adventure Path podcast, we do a lot of industry interviews. We often have many people from Paizo on the show, and I have a feeling that Jason Bowman's going to be coming around and maybe playing with us in the near future. Another big part of the show is our Discord channel. For those of you who don't know what Discord is, it's a free voice and text app, mostly for gamers. And we have a Roll for Combat Discord channel, which allows you to talk to the members of the show, as well as other fans of the show. In addition, Roll for Combat is an official Paizo organized play lodge, which means we're always running multiple Pathfinder and Starfinder play-by-Discord games, and they're officially recognized by Paizo. We also get special events and special perks that Paizo only gives out to lodges. We're usually running about 40 to 50 games at a time, so just go to the Discord channel and you can find a game and start playing with us, well, pretty much anytime you want. To join the Discord channel, simply go to the website discord.rollforcombat.com and you'll be automatically prompted to join the service. And by the way, if you join our Discord channel and you post enough, you'll get to what's called level 10. You'll see if you join the channel. And if you get to level 10, you get a free t-shirt of your choice. I really thank you for listening to the show. Again, we're very receptive to our fans. We're always here. We'll always answer questions. We'll always talk to you. The best way to get in touch with us is our Discord channel. But I can't thank you enough for listening to the show. And hopefully you have as much fun listening to the show as we have creating it. Thanks again.
You've been listening to Roll for Combat, a Pathfinder actual play podcast. If you have a question or comment for the show, please visit us at rollforcombat.com. You can also find us and play various role-playing games on our Discord channel at discord.rollforcombat.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and other social media platforms. Until next week, always remember, it's all fun and games until the healer runs out of spells.